My passion has been since I came into this amazing company. I have discovered so much about myself and so much about other people. Leading people is my passion. Helping women to find their voice. That's actually what it's all been about for me. It's just helping other women to find their dreams and discover their voice.
Today's podcast guest is Theresa Schmidtman. She's a leader in a major skincare cosmetic company that's debt-free, that's family-run, that's been around since 1963 and helps women have six-figure incomes. It didn't start there with Theresa. Theresa's story began when she was 4 years old and she was left on a gravel road by her family. She felt silenced as a child and endured child abuse. Later went on to marry into domestic violence. Her mission today is to help women fly, to help them find their voice, that they don't have to be stuck in those circumstances. She is a LinkedIn domestic violence advocate. She discovered her path through faith, church, business, forgiveness, and now sharing with others her story so that she can inspire people to move beyond domestic violence and child abuse, that you matter, that you can make a difference, and there are people there that can help you.
My name's Travis Sims, and I am the founder and CEO of AGC Accelerated Global Connections, and this is the AGC Experience.
They don't teach business networking in college, but experts say that it's the leading thing we need to do to grow our businesses. Are you tired of doing business networking and getting low results? If you're only collecting business cards and you struggle to build the relationship, or you don't know how to turn the relationship into a referral that closes business and generates sales for your company, you need to consult with Travis Sims, the networking coach. With 15 years in the industry of networking and coaching the leading experts on how to build networks, he can help you get the results you're looking for. Send Travis an email at travis@joinagc.com to set up a free private consultation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with my friend, Theresa Schmidtman. I'm so excited to have you. I've known you a few years, and it's just a pleasure to have you on the AGC Experience. You are a leader in a major skincare cosmetics company, but you've got an amazing story, and I can't wait to share it with our audience. Please share a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Travis. This is really exciting. Yes, I have a retail background, actually, so managing people, but my passion has been since I came into this amazing company. I have discovered so much about myself and so much about other people. Leading people is my passion. Helping women to find their voice. That's actually what it's all been about for me. It's just helping other women to find their dreams and discover their voice, because I didn't realize that I had lost mine.
When I've heard you introduce yourself in other situations, and you've often used the phrase, "I teach women to fly."
Yes.
And I love that. For me, that just sinks in immediately. But what does that mean for you?
Exactly what I said. My first vivid childhood memory, I was about 3-4 years old. I remember being put out of the car and left in the middle of a gravel road because I was talking too much in the car, and having my dad and my uncle drive away and leave me standing there because I was talking too much. And my whole childhood growing up, I remember always being silenced, never being allowed to explain myself when I would be in trouble, so to speak. Just told I didn't want to hear it. Just never being allowed to explain myself. And then I went from that situation all the way growing up into a marriage of domestic violence where obviously I was never able to use my voice. And so coming into this amazing company that I've been a part of for 7 years now, I have just blossomed into being able to use my voice and teach other women to use their voice. And it's just been this journey of discovery and just awesomeness. I don't know how to explain it. Just God has moved me from being someone who didn't even make eye contact to understanding the meaning of healing, forgiveness, and self-worth, self-value, and helping other people to find that. And I get to do that every day and on my terms. And it is just such a gift. And I want to share that gift with other people, whatever that means to them. And that's the other thing, is knowing that it's not about me, it's about them and what it means to them. And that is so important. It's more than just skincare and cosmetics. It's about developing the inner person and helping them to discover their self-worth. And some women know that, and that's great. They can help other people to find that too. And that's what this whole journey has been for me.
Wow. I got to tell you, I've already taken a page of notes just off of an opening statement from you, which is fantastic, which means this is going to be an amazing podcast, not only for me, but for all those that watch, all those that listen. And you've said a few things that I want to key in on here. And first of all, I've often said that no one tells a child that they can't, right? That like, for example, a kid comes up to you and says, I want to be an astronaut. That's great. You can go be an astronaut. I want to be a magician. Oh, that's great. You can go be a magician. Rarely does someone say, no, you can't. You're not good enough. It's not, you don't matter. We shouldn't ever tell kids that. But as adults, we tell our own selves that. So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing, because you didn't have that experience. You from what I'm gathering or reading off of what you've shared so far, you grew up in a home where you were completely silenced all the time and didn't have that growing up. But now you're recognizing that as an adult, and you're sharing with other adults that, yes, you can. There are no limitations and you can do this. And I think all adults still need to hear that, because something happens, and I think it's reason or it's logic or it's, something that gets in the way of our own minds that limits our beliefs on what we can really do. So I think your message applies not only to the people who are victims or recovering from child abuse or domestic violence or any of those things, but every adult needs to hear this message.
Absolutely. And sometimes too, it's just life. We get so busy just living life that we forget how to focus on dreaming. We don't know how to dream. We forget to dream.
Yeah.
So many women that I come in contact with, that's one of the things that I ask them, what are your dreams?
Mm-hmm.
They can't say. They don't know, because we're just so busy focused on our families, on our jobs, on just doing day-to-day things that we forget how to dream. I was one of those people. God blessed me with a second husband that is so amazing. He is just wonderful. And when we got married, he asked me, what have you always wanted to do? And when I told him, he said, well, do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everything that was taken away from me, he has given me hope and dreams and allowed me to have that opportunity if that's what I wanted to do. And so not everyone gets those choices, but life is about choices.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone has those supportive people in their lives to give them that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to be able to be for some of those people, is to be that supportive person, and to be a cheerleader for
Yeah.
for lack of
Yeah.
a better word, is to cheer them on and let them know that they're able to do anything that they want to do if they work for it.
Yeah. Isn't it great that we really, I think that we live life in chapters, and that this was a chapter of your life, and now you're moving to the next chapter of your life, and you're writing the next chapter of your life, and so on. And we're not stuck in one chapter. We're not stuck there. We have the ability to write our own stories. And I love that you said, I'm the cheerleader. And I think especially if you're a business owner, if you're a salesperson, if you're an entrepreneur, sometimes we feel all alone, especially those solopreneurs out there that don't have a team or don't have employees or any of those things. We feel alone. And it is great to have other peers that are our cheerleaders, that are saying, yes, you can do this, and let me collaborate with you, and let me help you. And I love what you're doing. It's an absolutely amazing story. Awesome. I want to ask you a question, and that is, do you think that women have more difficulty with this than men, for example?
That's a great question. Not necessarily.
Okay.
That was a lesson that was taught me early on, is even in my passion helping women and children who were affected by domestic violence, I was taught very early on that they're not the only ones affected.
Sure.
And so I know, even in my own personal life, that men also struggle with low self-esteem and doubts and those struggles. I just feel, from what I've seen, that men are the ones that don't voice that they're struggling.
Sure, that makes sense.
They're not the ones that come out and ask for help.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you that, abuse has no boundaries, that especially in a child, it doesn't matter. A victim of abuse, it could be male, it could be female, it could be anything. But I also think that sometimes, and I'm trying to say this in the most politically correct way that I possibly can, and that is that I think sometimes women are natural nurturers. Okay, so if we look at society, right, and when you had toys to play with, what kind of toys did you play with? Dolls. Doll houses, probably kitchen sets and things like that. So yes. It was impressioned upon you that you should be the house cleaner, that you should be the person who cooks, you should be the person who takes care of the children, and the little boys were impressioned upon that here's your tool set, here's your trucks and cars, here's your all the things that the little boys play with. And therefore, I think, the evolution of business owners, salespeople, entrepreneurs, it happened for men first because it was a natural thing for them. And then women started coming into the business world. And I think they're better at it than us, by the way. I really do. But I think there's been some challenges with that because and what you do in skincare and cosmetics and making a centric organization, a centric business for women to naturally go into and to work with other women where they might even be more comfortable. Am I hitting on the right things? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's okay.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why our founder created our company. Because excuse me, our company was created back in 1963 for women, by a woman, for that exact reason. Because she had been passed over for a promotion by another man that she had trained.
Yeah.
And frankly, she was tired of it. And she wanted women to be able to have this career, to be able to do whatever they wanted for whatever reasons that they wanted, to be able to have the flexibility that they needed, and to be able to provide the income that they needed for their families. And we're going on our 57th year in this company.
Wow.
And we have more women making six-figure incomes than any other company. And we're still debt-free.
Yeah.
And it's still family-run.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. And that's why she did that. Exactly the reason that she did that.
Yeah. So I brought that out because you're an AGC member. You're on the AGC podcast. You're at a lot of AGC events. I see you at the Woodbury event on occasion. I see you when time allows for you to be at the Egan or Burnsville style event. And if you're listening or you're watching this podcast and maybe you're considering, I'm going to go into the business world, but I don't know where to start, right? Because not everyone knows what they want to do. Not everyone has a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a structure that's in place for them to go out and start their business. When I started AGC, it took a year. I mean, I put so many things in place, and I didn't do everything exactly the way I was supposed to, or the way that I thought it would turn out, or, and so you have bumps along the way. But if you're considering business, and especially you don't have to be a woman to do what Theresa does, but if you are a woman or a man and you're considering, I'm looking to start a business, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I need help and I need structure. Find Theresa. Find her at an AGC event. Find her on our website on AGC, joinagc.com, and connect to her on social media. And beyond the business, which is, I know where your passion is.
Yes.
Beyond the business, if you're struggling with self-care, if you're struggling and you've been a victim of child abuse, domestic violence, I think talking about it helps, right?
Yes, and you can find me as a domestic violence advocate on LinkedIn, and I can connect you to the resources that you need, the people to talk to, where to go for help, because that truly is my passion. My vision is to live in a world where every woman and child feels safe in their home.
Yeah.
And my mission is to actually build a domestic violence shelter in Missouri, where I'm from.
Oh, wow. I have someone I need to connect you to. On the Natural Networker, I'm like thinking, we have a brand new member that is a sex trafficking survivor, a addiction survivor, and she's going to be someone that you're going to want to meet. I'll be sure to introduce you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. You know what? What a beautiful vision. What a beautiful dream to have. And I know you personally. I know how goal-driven you are, how focused you are, and how of an amazing person you are, that I know you're going to accomplish that. I believe that you can, and I know that you will. And please invite me. I'll drive, I'll fly, I'll come and be a part of that ribbon cutting, because that will be awesome. I want to circle back a little bit to something you said earlier, and that is that you went as a child, and I remember you saying, I was left out on a gravel road, and then later you married into a situation of domestic violence. And thank God that you were able to get out of that situation and find a husband, a spouse that is the exact opposite of that, is so supportive of you and an amazing person. But do you think, how often does that happen in your experience as a domestic violence advocate, that someone who experienced either domestic violence or child abuse as a child then picks a spouse that does the same thing to them?
It often happens again.
Yeah.
It does often happen again. And that's why I highly recommend don't be silent. If someone that you know, someone that you love is in a situation, speak up.
Yeah.
Speak up. Don't be silent. They need support. They don't need you to be quiet. When I was in that situation, it was not a hidden, unknown situation. People knew, and no one wanted to get involved. Had someone stepped up and offered to help, I would not have been in that situation for years.
You wouldn't have felt so alone.
Exactly. So sometimes that's all it takes, is to let them know that you're there. And sometimes we don't want to get other people involved. I'm not an expert, but that's why I have the resources to lead you to the people that are. And so that is my goal, is to make sure that I'm leading the people that have questions, that have other people that they know that are in those situations, or you yourself are in a situation. I can give you the information that you need to get to the people that are the experts that can help you. And here in our local community, I like to work closely with the Women's Advocacy Center in St. Paul and 360 Communities. They have a couple of different shelters within their centers. So those are the two that I like to work closely to. That doesn't mean they're the only ones. There are many wonderful places here that we're blessed to have here in the Twin Cities, but those are the two that I personally work with.
Well, you heard Theresa. I think a lot of times people stay silent because we're taught, mind your own business. Early in life, we're taught to mind your own business. Let your neighbor do what they want to do. Don't bother them. Don't, stay out of their business. And in this case, what you do makes all the difference. It matters so much. Let people know that you care. Let them know that you're here, and speak up. Absolutely use your voice. That's such great advice. And Theresa, I'm glad you shared, you're personally not a certified counselor or a therapist or any of that thing. You're just a person who has lived it, who has had the experience of it, who cares enough to listen and to help get you to the organizations that can help you and to get out of those things. And it's great that we have them nowadays, and that we don't have to stay in those situations. So, wow, good stuff. Oh my gosh. So I'm just curious too, how does one come, because not everyone has the bravery that you do to now talk about it, right? How do you come full circle to, all right, I lived this, now I'm going to live in silence about it because I don't want people to know, because I'll just share it, because I have to live what I'm saying. I have to give my own advice. I was abused as a child by a family member, and it's something that I rarely ever speak of. And I went to a therapist, and I saw a therapist for quite some time. And it was the first time that I really talked about it. And I had all of this guilt, and I had all of this shame and my therapist helped me understand that I was a kid. I was a child. What did I have to be shamed about? What did I have to be worried about or to hide? I wasn't the guilty party in this. But I think a lot of us feel that way. How does one come full circle around to, I have this guilt, I have this shame, I've lived this experience, I'm staying silent about it, to now I'm going to use my voice to help others? I mean, that has to be quite a journey. How did you get there?
Well, thank you for sharing that. Well, for me, it was a faith journey. Okay. For me, God used my business. You know how they say that one door gets slammed so another one can open? That literally happened for me. I was in the retail world where I would probably still be if that door had not been slammed. The company closed, and I said yes to this amazing opportunity that I had been offered many, many, many times, and that I kept saying no to until that door got slammed and I said yes. And then as I started working in my career path, one of the things that we have in this career path is a foundation that supports two causes. It supports eradicating cancers in women and domestic violence, helping women and children who are affected by domestic violence. And when I see my clients, I share that with them. And I found that as I was sharing that information with them, little by little, I started sharing a little more. And then I started sharing even more and finally started telling them that I had lived in that life. And I found that as I started doing that, I started feeling differently. And I didn't know why that was. I also lived a life that I was a Christian, but not a practicing Christian. And I've come into an intimate relationship with God because our company's founded on faith first, family second, and career third. And our founder always believed that if you lived your life in that order, everything would fall into place. And if you didn't, it would be pretty chaotic. And so I shared that in our class as we're taught. And my life started changing. What had happened was I had started feeling differently. I started forming that intimate relationship with God. And this is my story. This isn't anyone else's. This is just mine. And I started healing is what was happening. Previously, I only talked about my first marriage if I was angry.
Okay.
I was very angry, and this was many years before. I didn't talk about my ex-husband unless I was calling him names that probably shouldn't be said, those kind of things. But I learned to let go. I learned to let go. I learned to forgive, which means I didn't have to go tell him that I forgave him. But I had to quit carrying that.
Yeah.
Because that was holding me prisoner. That was not allowing me to heal. I never did any of that in front of my son. I have a son from that marriage. But it was eating me alive inside. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to me. And once I let that go, and I forgave, and I learned about forgiveness from the heart, I was able to start helping other people. And once I started helping other people, there was a freedom like I have never known in my life. And that is where I find my joy. That is where I find my joy. That is where I find my passion. It's just something that is so hard to explain unless you live it. And in my personal life, I have this intimate relationship, like I said, and I tell about my story, but I don't relive it.
Yeah.
I don't relive it because I don't need to tell intimate details.
Sure.
I just need women to understand, and men, and the children.
Mm-hmm.
I need everyone to understand who have been there that if you allow yourself to be used from the journey, from the life that you've lived, and use it to help other people, it is so freeing and it is so rewarding. And it takes the power away from the person that did it to you.
Yeah.
You are taking control, and you may not be there yet, but someday you will. there are steps that it takes to get there. And those were my steps. Those may not be the steps. Some people need counseling. Some people need other things to get there. It's different for every person. But you got to find out what your steps are. Being angry and resentful or just depressed and wallowing in it, that's not a place to be. That takes more effort than getting well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I made some notes and on your journey, which I think I love duplication, because I think it's like someone's paved the path for us, right? It's like you did it. Now I just need to follow some of the steps that you did, and there might be some different ones and variations like you shared. But for you, I wrote down faith, church, your own business, or a business that you can tap into, a community of people within that business. Forgiveness was just probably one of the biggest steps I can imagine. Forgiving the person who abused you, who kept you silent, who kept you down. And then once you have that forgiveness, to be able to share it with others and to be able to help others. And what an impact that you're making, that you're going to continue to make for people that are going to watch this, they're going to listen to this podcast. They may never reach out to you personally, but I'm certain that this episode is going to make a difference for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing it with us. If someone wants to reach you and they either are interested in a business that's supportive and getting plugged in and a way to start and all the things that go with that, or they have a story like yours that they just haven't been brave enough to share with someone, and they know that you know how to get them the help and to the right people. How do we get in touch with you? What are you comfortable with sharing?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
They can find me on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Theresa Schmidtman, and her name is going to be a hard spelling. So you're going to find it on the podcast. You're going to find it on the video. You'll see it there, so you'll get the correct spelling. So when you send a connection request to Theresa, send her just a little note like, hey, I heard you on the podcast, or I watched you on the podcast, and I had some additional questions or some additional thoughts, or I wanted to reach out to you and share my story or how you impacted me. And you're at a lot of AGC events. And if a member is there, I hope that they will come and let you know that they heard your story and how it impacted them. And I'm curious from you, I know you're looking to grow your business, but AGC, you said yes right away as a member, and I love seeing you. What is it for you? What do you love the most, or why do you do it, or how does it work for you?
I love that I get to meet so many different types of people. The hours are amazing. It's after most people are off work, but I'm home in time for dinner with my husband. I love that there are many locations, so it fits into my schedule, because as an entrepreneur, my schedule is kind of all over the place, so I can squeeze it in when it fits for me. That it's not inclusive, or it is inclusive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm not locked into one category. So there are many women in my field that belong to AGC. So you don't say, oh, there's only one leadership person in there. There's only one skincare person in there. Because sometimes I feel in some of the networking that I do, it's okay to be the only person.
Sure, an exclusive category.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I learn from people that do what I do.
Oh, sure.
It doesn't always have to be competitive. You can learn from people that are your competition.
Absolutely.
It can be friendly competition. And so you can learn from them. And I love that I get to do that. And I like that It's structured as far as how it's set up, but it's motivating.
Yeah.
We kind of mentioned that earlier, that when we're solopreneurs,
Yeah.
you know, in my business, I get a lot of motivation and encouragement.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But I see that in other people that work for themselves that they don't.
Yeah.
But I also like to get it from other places, because I'm the type of personality that I need to feed into myself all the time.
Yeah.
To keep myself motivated and keep myself going. And so I get that also from an AGC meeting, with the talks and the encouragement. And I love that they're motivating us, but not selling.
Sure.
I love that.
They said motivation should be like bathing. You should do it often. You should do it often. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to have you as a member, and such a joy to have you in our room. And I love that you also have that abundance mindset, and learning from your competitors. You hit on that. And it's not only learning from your competitors, but understanding there's enough business for everyone. And not everyone's going to want to do business with you. They might align better with the other person. And where would you want them? You want them where they're going to be most comfortable, and they're going to do the most business, and they're going to be happy, right? Yes. And the person that's going to love you and want to do business with you is going to be put in front of you, and you're going to get to nurture that relationship, and it's the right one. And so awesome. Thank you so much for being on the AGC Experience podcast today. For our people listening or watching at home, thank you for tuning in. Please share this episode. Out of every other episode that you've ever listened to, share this one. This has such a message to impact so many people that it needs to be heard. It needs to be shared. And thank you for sharing it with us.
This podcast was produced by Elation Studios. Go to www.elationstudios.co to learn more. Elation Studios. Discover your voice, clarify your vision, build your life.